Welcome to What a Week, the weekly video podcast where we talk about the news that you should have gotten over the past 7 days, but for some reason, you just never got around to these. And of course, the media doesn't quite get all of the stories that we think you should be getting, so that's what we bring to you here on What a Week. My name is James Messer. I'm your co-host this week, and as always, I am joined by the best-looking co-host of the two, Miss Judy Messer. Hello.
Hello.
So nice to see
everybody.
you. So nice for you to join us again. It's sometimes difficult to get our act together on these Saturday morning things, but this was a good Saturday morning, I think.
It was. It all came together.
It all came together, and if you're watching this
Very nice.
after Saturday morning on the recording afterwards, you can always join us live on What a Week. We record this at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time here on our Ustream feed, and you can find that always, of course, on whataweekpodcast.com. So this week was actually a pretty normal week. One of the things, though, we were talking about earlier in the week. In fact, I think it was Saturday evening a week ago. A lot of topics for what we want to do on the podcast seem to come up at the dinner table. We always have questions about we're discussing something, and then suddenly we have this conversation that takes a shift to say, where did that come from, or what does that mean?
Why is
or,
that that way?
Why is that that way? And the magic of mobile telephones. So we're sitting at the table. The magic of phones, of course, is that you're able to pop up Wikipedia and Amazon, and
It's all right there at your fingertips.
clunk, 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 clunk. You start
And it's the
flipping
magic
around.
of children, too.
It is.
Because they come up with all sorts of topics and things that they learn at school.
That's right. And so we were talking about a flock of birds, or we're talking about a herd of something. And
What you call groups of things.
groups of things. And it was crow, and we talked about a murder of crows.
Right.
And so the question came up, what the heck is that? Where did that come from? Why is it called a murder of crows? Why isn't it just a flock of crows? Because it is. It's just a flock
That's
of
a
crows.
creepy name.
It's a creepy name.
It is very
The murder
creepy.
of crows. So, of course, we went to Wikipedia and
And nobody
said,
says that. I
Nope.
never hear people say a murder of
look
crows.
at that murder
They say,
of
look,
crows.
There's a bunch of crows, right?
Well, Wikipedia was a wealth of information. And of course, these things tend to go from one place to the other, to the other, to the other. We tend to follow them as we go. And Wikipedia, I think I have the Wikipedia up, the collective nouns. And we start flipping through them, and some are pretty interesting. They have here a congregation of alligators,
That sounds like church.
because it does. You have a cloud of bats. But one of the questions we came up with is yes, those are quite cheeky. Those are very interesting. The murder of crows is there, but why is it called a congregation of alligators? That
And
doesn't
who
even
came
make
up
sense.
with all this stuff? Right.
And who came up with all this, and why is it there? We came up with a parliament of owls. That was the one that we were
I like
quite
the
taken with.
poverty of pipers.
Well,
That's what you call a group of pipers.
We'll keep that in mind, a poverty of pipers. And as we were reading through this, one of the things we found is that this entire grouping of all of these names has been documented into a book called let me make sure I get the name right, a very recent book published in 1968, An Exaltation of Larks. And even more interesting about that is the person who wrote this book is James Lipton.
That blew me away. That
James
guy is
Lipton.
amazing.
He's everywhere.
He's a delight.
He's a delight. And he wrote this book that documented where all these names came from. How do you come up with all of these names? Where were they documented from? So then, of course, you move to Amazon to say, well, let's read about this. And if you go right into the book, you can even read parts of it on Amazon. And they split these names into 6 families. First, I find out we call these names because the gentlemen of the time in the 1800s who were hunters wanted to be known as gentlemen when referring to these things they were hunting. You just don't say a flock of birds. You say a murder of crows. And everything had a different name to distinguish you from the mere commoners.
I like a knot of toads.
Knot of toads. So they put them into different categories. Onomatopoeia, for the things
Say,
that
you're
sound
gonna try that?
onomatopoeia, which means sounds like a choo-choo train, choo-choo-choo-choo-choo. That's onomatopoeia. So the thing you just did with pipers, what was that? It was
Poverty of pipers.
poverty of pipers is onomatopoeia because it has that poverty of pipers kind of thing going on with it. So that name was a murmuration of starlings, a gaggle of geese.
I
There's-
thought that was like habitat.
Maybe it is a
because they
habitat.
lived in poverty.
Oh, maybe it is. So there's also characteristics, a leap of leopards. There's appearance, a knot of toads, or a parliament of owls, which I love.
Yes, that's very fitting.
I love a
owls.
parliament of owls.
Can you see James Lipton? I bet he was so excited writing this. This is right up his alley.
Oh, right up his alley.
And I bet if you talked to him about it, he would make it so fascinating.
The one that got me is the sixth one here, which is error, which is an incorrect transcription by a scribe or printer. A school of fish was originally a shoal of
Who
fish.
knew? So that's from a mistake, actually.
And now we call it a school. And we always wonder, why do we call it a school of fish? Doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't. It makes no sense at all.
And we said it just like that.
I can't say that this is an entertaining podcast for anyone else, but it's entertaining for me.
It's very fascinating.
So I want to get this book now and read the whole thing because it was very remarkable. And I'll put the link in the show notes. You can find all of those things. I found it just amazing, the information you can gather and see just by following that little, why is that? And I love the internet. We are living in the future.
It's an interesting answer to, things that we've always wondered about, like you talked about fish. Why is it that way?
Right.
And our daughter's been studying Edgar Allan Poe.
That's right.
And felt like murder of crows had something to do with that, being it's a bad omen to see a group of crows hanging out in your front yard.
So we move from crows to balloons.
Okay.
What a party balloon. This is a story that I ran across this week that kind of caught me by surprise because I didn't realize it was a problem, but apparently is. Now, I wonder if this is going to come out next week as just a fake story that came out. But it's a story from The Guardian, and it's a situation where scientists aren't able to get enough helium because they're all going to party balloons.
Why don't they just go down to Publix and get some?
You would think that's the place you should go. Just pick them up. That makes perfect sense to me. But it's a serious issue. And I didn't realize I'm going to flip over to the story here. I didn't realize that there's no way the helium isn't something you can really pull out of nature. It's not available. Now in the universe, there's tons of helium everywhere, but it's coming off the sun. And by the time it gets to us, it's not there anymore. We don't
where
have
do we
more.
get it from?
We make it ourselves. And the problem is that we aren't making enough. So he has these experiments. They use helium to cool down atoms to reduce their vibrations and make them easier to study. And now he can't cool them down, so he can't run his neutron beams, which cost 30,000 pounds a day to keep running, whether he uses it or not. So he's running into an issue where it's a bit of a problem.
Like they would get precedence in the ordering process over a party balloon store.
One would think. One would think. And in fact, he's saying that it's so valuable to him that having just this party balloon here, that's something I could really use that. That's a lot of money in that party balloon that I could be using for something else. But I don't know. Maybe it's the party balloon lobby that's keeping them.
I just wonder, how does that phone call go? Listen, I've got these atoms here and they need to be cooled. I'm sorry, but Billy's having a birthday party on Saturday.
We got clowns and everything coming.
First,
right.
So
There's a
atoms
magician.
We'll have to wait.
We got ice cream. We need the helium. It keeps them from vibrating so quickly.
They need to fix that. That's not right.
They need to figure that out. But I thought, gosh, what else are we going to be looking for if not helium?
I didn't realize they had to make helium.
This is one of those things that there's plenty to get. I mean, you got ways to make it, but in fact, there's, as they say in this article, there's 22 grams of helium in every cubic meter of lunar soil. So I guess we go to the moon and we can get it from there.
Seems like an expensive trip.
The stockpile, they had a stockpile. It's used up. The prices are going up. So it's sort of like oil, I guess.
Well, now there's an issue coming out with kids at parties sucking the helium out of these balloons, and it's causing problems with some of them, serious medical issues. So you may start to see that come to an end.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
How much helium are these kids sucking in?
There was a story, and I can't remember the exact details. It wasn't too long ago, where kids were playing around at a party with helium, and somebody, I think, got really sick. I don't know that they died, but it was a serious issue.
Maybe it was the ice cream.
I don't know. Maybe it was the science lobby sabotaging or something.
Oh, that's it. For their own
Put
helium.
out some negative press about helium.
We're going to get this helium back. We're going to stay on the scientist track for this next story, which is what an earthquake. This is an interesting article I ran across on Metafilter this week that took earthquake data from 2011 and it put it into a graphical view, a movie view with noises, with sound as it was going on. So what I found interesting, let's flip over to this. I'm gonna get this started on my screen so we can all see this. I'm gonna hope I can get this started on my screen. So this is turn this up. This is earthquake data from. Here we go. Just start it. Let's hope it plays. There we go. And you'll see throughout the world, you'll be able to see where the earthquakes are coming from. There's different sizes of earthquakes. They show you how big the circle's going to be. That's the magnitude and how dark it is. And you can see as the earthquake gets a more of a magnitude, it not only gets bigger, but as you can hear, it gets louder. So you're able to track this over time and how the distance, how far away this is. You're able to get more information, where it's going and how far it's going. You'll see all of this on the screen. A very interesting way to visualize what's going on. And what I thought about this is, of course, during the year last year, you can see we're already at January 1st.
Look how many.
That was remarkable to me to begin with. I had no idea there were this many of them just all over the world. And you can hear boom as they're hitting. Now, of course, last year was that horrible set of problems in Japan, that enormous set of earthquakes going on. And we recently had the 1-year anniversary of that. And so really they built this to kind of give an idea of just how crazy things were. I'm going to get rid of our picture here for a moment. Just how crazy things were during that time frame. Isn't it amazing how many of them there are?
I really had no idea.
Now, the part that is quite remarkable is keep your eye on Japan. Well, you won't have to keep your eye on Japan to understand, because this obviously is what happens normally. Lots of these little earthquakes everywhere, all over the world.
This is going a day by day.
Right. We're at March 3rd right now.
And this is how many?
Yes.
This is incredible. Whoa, look at that. Whoa.
That was the big one.
Japan. Oh.
Look at that. Are you kidding me?
Wow. That's amazing to see it like that. I mean, it really hits home how enormous that was.
That's why I had to put this on the podcast. That, boom. Look at that. Look at what these people have had to put up with for this time frame, for that amount of time. Another set. We're up to April now. It hasn't stopped. Constant. Now, I'm going to have to find his Twitter feed, but I follow one of the guys who's with the radio, I think it's Voice of America, who's based in Japan, based in Tokyo, and he tweets out when they have these types of very, very bad earthquakes going through.
Was he there?
It's constant. Oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
It's just constant for these things. It's a whole nother set that went through. So it's something I find very, very interesting to see.
Well, you really see the seismically active areas when you look at it like this.
Straight away. I mean, it's very, very obvious. You think we always worry about in our country, California, it has so many earthquakes. No, not really, not so much.
Oh, yeah, nothing comparatively, right.
So that was both interesting and frightening at the same time. And I found it to be...
That's an incredible video.
Isn't that remarkable? I'll put the links in the show notes, of course, for all of these so that you can play that back. And Trexus in the chat room's even saying, can the Japanese even feel the ground moving anymore? It's like living on a boat, I would think.
Because that was constant.
Constant motion with those folks. I can't even believe what
that would
they
be an
went
interesting
through.
video to show in schools.
Oh, sure.
Because one of our children just finished studying the Ring of Fire, where they have all these volcanoes and all these earthquakes. And when you look at that, you really see in that big circle there along the west coast of the U.S. and over near Japan and all that, it's just constant earthquakes.
Just amazing. So it was an interesting video. And it's interesting to me that not only was it an interesting video in what it was showing you, but the way they showed it, the way they visualized all of that data. There's a lot of data we were looking at there.
There was. And when that big one hit, you really had a sense of just how enormous it was.
Felt it.
Yeah.
Boom. Right in there. Well, let's move from that visualization of what's going on to visualization of the Earth from above, from a real picture. I love these stories about these groups of kids that get together and put together a balloon with a camera on it.
And we're going to get into space. I'm telling you.
We're going to figure it out.
We're going to find some Lego people.
We're going to get up there. They went to, this is at Oakland Youth Radio. They teach journalism, production, and tech to young people. $69 weather balloon carrying a $5 styrofoam cooler and a digital camera went up to 90,000 feet above the Bay Area.
That is unbelievable.
And this is just one of the pictures they got. This is a link from Boing Boing, but it takes you right to the Weather Balloon Project page, which is right here on Turnstile, turnstilenews.com, where you have even bigger pictures, and they go into detail about what they did in California to put together all the pieces they would need, and they came up with some fantastic pictures. Here's Sacramento, the river delta in Sacramento. They were able to get.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it looks like they're in a plane somewhere. And then, of course, they got up really high, and you can actually see the curvature of the Earth and the blackness of space.
Oh, that is incredible.
Can you imagine when that camera came back down, they were able to look and see what they got, how awesome that was. Here's two of them getting ready to launch the balloon. And there it is, just a balloon. They stuck a camera on. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Having a great time, just hanging out. And we're able to get some fantastic pictures. Here's one from the very, very tip top. They were
that is beautiful.
Near the ascent when they were getting that. I'm sure there's an even more interesting story of what happened afterwards, because they really talk about moving it up there, where they did it from. They didn't really talk about how they got there, where they found it afterwards, how they managed to get their camera back, that type of thing, how it was when they found it. But there are 835 high-resolution photographs. They took one picture every 10 seconds. They are all on Flickr. You can go out there and see all of it from the very beginnings of what they were doing all the way down to the end. 835 pictures. So
that
very,
is
very
just incredible.
They did a great job with that. And I thought that one would be a good one worth looking at and seeing what they did. And if somebody else wanted to repeat it, now there's so many people doing this you can find so many stories of kids putting together these little projects that now almost anybody can do it yourself, put one together and try
get these great photos. That's just amazing.
See what happens with that. Well, there's a lot of care and a lot of effort that goes into getting things just right with that. And I can appreciate someone who has an eye for that type of thing, which leads me to the next story that we have, which is, what a theme park light. This one, I think I can appreciate this probably more than you can, because I'm that guy who tries to look at the details of everything to the nth degree, perhaps to the nth plus 1 degree. This is from in the Magic Kingdom, Walt Disney World here in Florida, where somebody went around to all of the lights that are in the Magic Kingdom to look at the theming of the lights themselves.
Was this James Lipton?
It was not James Lipton.
I think he did.
I don't think it is. Ultimately takes you to this passport, twodreams.blogspot.co.uk. So this is someone who has this based out of the United Kingdom.
I love this because I love Disney World. We love Disney.
Yes.
We're huge Disney fans. And if you ever take a minute and just step back from the crowd and really look at this park, it is amazing.
It is amazing. And
all
they do
these little details, like the lights, even the way they do the shingles on the roof, the gorgeous landscaping. I mean, it's beautiful.
So this is someone who, a Fox Fur, who says, I'm a Magic Kingdom girl. And this is from Lake Buena Vista. So this is someone who's based there. And she goes through the details of Main Street USA, how the lights are set up, why those lights in the train station, why are they round globes, how does that apply or fit the particular theming that's there? And you notice we've seen this too, even outside of the theme parks. You go to any of their resorts.
The hotels.
And even just lights that you're walking by in a hallway are very specifically, intricately thought of for theming.
Yes.
They miss nothing. The trim down on the floor that you're walking by, the wood that was used.
No detail is missed.
Detail.
Absolutely.
And I love that this particular...
And it immediately puts you into that era.
It does.
Like when you go over to the Wilderness Lodge, you feel like you are out west. Even the trees and the plants are just like what you would find out west. I don't know how they do that in Florida, but...
And yet there it is. And of course, as she moves through the park, now this is just Main Street, and all of the different lights that are on Main Street and how they apply. Some of them
That's
very
beautiful.
ornate.
Yeah, incredible.
Just amazing.
But these are the
things you
things
see.
that people don't often see because you're in such a hurry. I mean, you've spent so much money trying to get in here. You're trying to beat the lines. But if you really just stop, get an ice cream, sit on a bench, and just look around, it's beautiful. It's incredible.
It's one of the things we always notice because, well, we go a lot. We go at least every 6 months or so. We're in a park. So for us, we're just lounging around. We're going to be here again in 6 months. We live close by. It's a 4-hour drive to get to Orlando. We get an annual pass. So we can just kind of show up. And if we get on a ride, we get on a ride. If we don't get on a ride, we don't. We'll do it next time.
Slacker Disney people.
We are. We're just kind of meandering through the park. Sometimes the kids have certain things they want to be able to do, but it gives us a chance to watch other people literally run by all of these amazing things with the theming.
And if you stop and look, there's never a bulb out. There's never chipped paint. It's just incredible.
In Tomorrowland, all of the lights. Look how different Tomorrowland lights are.
I wonder where they get their lights. I'd love to talk to the person who's in charge of that.
Well, I would bet that would be a nice follow-up story.
Wouldn't that be neat?
For this series to hear
I've been
about
trying
that.
to look for a light for my dining room for 2 years. I can't find one that I like, so I probably wouldn't be a good person for that job.
I'm going to create a blog and I'm going to document all of the lights in our house.
Except the dining room.
Except the dining room.
That one's awful.
No, we won't. No dining room.
And it's crooked. It kind of is teetering. It's on the way out.
It won't be long for that particular light, for sure. Bringing up the end of all of these stories is I like to always do a story at the end that talks about things that are sort of a broader picture. And this one, again, is a nice broader picture of the universal timeline, the history of everything. And there was a very interesting one that I found. This is from Ars Technica this week. And it's something called Chrono Zoom. So there's 14 billion years of space-time that we know about from what we think is the Big Bang all the way up to now. And this really puts it in perspective. I think I've got it already loaded here. Here's the Chrono Zoom. Let me get rid of our faces on here so that everybody can really see this. So you've got a lot of things up at the top. Now, it breaks down for you at the top the time that was on these things. So how long has humanity been around versus the cosmos? You can even see it visually. You know, we're up here. The origin of human beings is way up here at the end of the timeline all the way up to today. But look at, you go back how many 13, 14 billion years of what's going on. And you can try to figure out origins of the universe. What is that? Well, let's go to the origins of the universe, and it'll take you right to explaining these aspects of what happened during that time frame. And you can build out and view these in different ways. And once you click outside of it, it takes you outside of that zoom. And then you can even go to other places within the timeline to see other things that are going on. So once you get finally to where the Earth and the solar system are, you can even zoom in on one box and it tells you what that's about. Well, let's zoom in on life. And that's interesting. Let's view this particular era of life. It will zoom in on that one. Let's go to the Mesozoic era. It zooms in on that one. You keep going down and down and down further to just get an understanding of what in the world has happened, what in the universe has happened.
That is amazing. When you look at the bars up there, I can't believe our bar is so small.
Just this tiny little bar up at the top, just where we are. And it's one of those things where how would you even have a concept of that? How would you even understand these billions and billions and billions of years of what's been going on unless you can really put it all in perspective? And this really did a great job of putting it in perspective. There's other links on here to other pieces where you can search for different things. You can view the different media that they have there. There's audio that you can have in this. It probably is, and I'm not even playing it on the screen. There's narration of these, so you can listen to what's going on. Quite a remarkable job that has been put here.
That's amazing.
And there's links at the bottom. You can find out more about the research that's been done and behind the scenes of how they built this all on that website. I've got links in the show notes to be able to see that. Pretty interesting of what they were able to do to put all of that together.
I like it.
I like it too. I think you guys will...
It helps you put things in perspective.
Certainly does. So when
you look at that, you know what? Your taxes are not that big of a deal.
Oh, let's not talk about taxes. In the United States, taxes are due on April the 15th. I have not done taxes. It's been our topic of what's going on. So my taxes in that timeline fit way at the end, but they're really big.
Compared to the rest of the universe, they're just little.
I don't think so.
It's a blip.
It's not a blip to me. It's big to me. Forget the dinosaurs roaming the earth. I got to get taxes done. So I've got to spend some time working on taxes, doing my online tax filing and all of that. So next week it'll be, maybe we won't have What a Week. We'll have What a Poor Week We're Having podcast.
We'll show up wearing apparel.
It could happen. If you want to actually see if we show up next week, you can visit our website at whataweekpodcast.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, where I announce when we're going live with these streams. It's at whatweek on Twitter. And if you'd like to just email me directly, you can always email me at james@whataweekpodcast. So I'm going to keep working on taxes this week.
You know, I have good news for you, though, because I have a lot of lip gloss.
Yes.
You know that drawer that I have?
Is that tax deductible?
I'm wearing it on the show.
Oh,
It's tax deductible.
lip gloss is tax deductible. Who knew?
Write it off, honey.
What about my lip gloss?
I don't think you should talk about that.
I don't think I should either.
That's a different
We'll
show.
find out more about my lip gloss and other.
You can write off chapstick.
I will write off my chapstick for What a Week. Well, I have to put it on though while we're on the show. See?
To make it all legal.
Now it's tax deductible. Now we're legit.
You can send that to the auditor.
And you'll find out if we're going to be around next week if you follow us on whataweekpodcast.com. Thanks for joining us again this week. Thanks for everybody in the chat room. Thanks for just following along with this nonsense that we do every week. And we'll see you next time on What a Week.
Bye, everybody.